The next misunderstanding I'd like to share with you is regarding why the body becomes more elastic when we move it more often in a regular way, and what happens to the body when we don't move it. Every time that we stretch a muscle and we train a muscle, it sends a signal to the brain telling it needs more elastin, which is a chemical which allows it to be more elastic. When we stop training this muscle, it sends a signal to the brain saying, we don't need to be more elastic. Actually, we need to be more bone-like. We need to be rigid. And so the brain reacts and sends more calcium to this muscle. And if we don't move it for long enough, the muscle starts getting calcified. Now, a wonderful example to demonstrate this is in India, some people have a very, very high level of dedication towards their spirituality, and to show their respect and their devotion for the divine, they decide to lift their arm up and never bring it back down again. And within weeks and months of holding their arm up, the body understands that it's not going to go back down. Therefore, the muscles suddenly receive more and more calcium to such an extent that those muscles with time become bone. And if that person wants to bring his arm down again, he can't. He needs to break, he needs to fracture his shoulder muscles, which now have become bone because of all of the calcium that's being deposited there to support the decision that they've taken to bring the arm up. We need to see this as a very intelligent system that the body has. It's supporting the decisions that we take, which means if we decide to sit for 8 hours in front of a computer a day, the body is doing everything it can to support us and make it easier for us to hold this working position. So what does that mean? It's going to be sending calcium in the ligaments of our organs to make sure that they become harder. So when you're sitting down in front of your computer and you're flexing forward, the more time you spend doing that, the more the body supports you in that. And calcium will be sent to support you and for you to be even more stable in this position. And if you never do the opposite movement, then you are never sending a new signal to the brain telling it to send elastin. And as we explained in the first misunderstanding, that organs are attached to the spine directly through ligament attachments. So these ligaments are going to become more and more rigid. They're going to be more and more full of calcium. And if you're going to want to move and stretch your body, it's going to be harder because there's more calcium there. This is also what explains that if we do stretching for 1 week every day, we feel an amazing progress. We can see how we're getting closer and closer to the ground as we stretch. And if we stop stretching for 1 or 2 weeks, we deteriorate our flexibility very fast. And what that means is the body is very responsive and it sends elastin if we train a muscle every day, which makes it more elastic. And if we don't train it, it sends calcium. So these principles need to be thought about when we deal with chronic pain and when we deal with digestive tract issues. I've created a system that allows you to change the signal that your brain is sending to your spine muscles and to your digestive tract organs. The method allows your nervous system and your brain to send a signal to build more elastin, which makes everything more supple, more elastic, and improves the health and the function of your digestive tract and your spine. The fastest way that a body will create more buildup of calcium in an organ is when it's permanently contracted. Someone who's always holding tension in their digestive tract, that's what sends information to the brain to say, oh, it is always hard here. We might as well send more calcium so that it requires less energy to maintain hard. Our bodies are so intelligent and so loyal to the decisions that we take that when we decide to be in a position that limits our health, it still supports us and it sends calcium to make that part more rigid because it says, well, we're going to be like this 8 hours a day, so we might as well be stronger and therefore have more calcium to support it. So we need to respond by changing the way the brain actually sends information. And that's exactly what these protocols are designed to do. Identifying the unconscious muscle contractions and then reprogramming them. and then following a very simple exercise program for 21 days so that these new signals are sustainable and forever going to be introduced in the nervous system.